Hello, everyone. Welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform for thought leaders to share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in real world. Today's topic is Women Move Manufacturing. Our special guest today is Ande Hazard, VP of Manufacturing Solutions at AT&T. Hello, Ande. Welcome to CXO Spice.
Hi, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you for sponsoring Women Move Manufacturing Lunch and at Hanover Massey last September. I was so inspired by your speech, by the way. So delighted to have you here again. So take us back to the beginning, Andy. How did you get involved in technology? What is your responsibility as a VP of Manufacturing Solution at AT&T?
Sure. So I stumbled a little bit into my career. Out of college, I started with what was Southwestern Bell Telephone. As many of you know, over the years, that became SBC, which became AT&T as we know it today. I have held a number of roles within the business, but most of them in support of our enterprise customers across multiple industries. And about 5 years ago, AT&T Business made a very intentional decision to focus our sales, our technical, and our go-to-market strategy oriented around specific industries. And one of those was manufacturing, so that we could ensure that what we were bringing to bear from a product offering really supported and enabled the journey that our customers were on. So that's how I got started. I've been with this role for about 3 years. And from a scope perspective, we pay just over $2 billion of revenue annually with our customers. That represents just over 500 clients in manufacturing and transportation, and they're supported by over 160 sales and technical professionals in our organization.
Wow, that's massive responsibility. That's bigger than many other companies. And congrats on the achievement.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
what impact has the current economy made to manufacturing, and how has that accelerated the need for change?
Yeah, so supply chain disruption has really accelerated, and that's driving more need for visibility, operational efficiency, and really that can only be achieved with digital transformation. Our manufacturers are under an immense amount of pressure from an increased labor and material cost. Inflation's driving much of that. And they're once again looking at technology, how to solve those challenges, how to gain greater efficiencies. The business strategies that are being put in place with our manufacturers are driving towards those technologies. As we've talked to Gartner, they believe that 50% of our CEOs still see inflation lingering as late as 2025. So it's a bit here to stay, if you will. So stabilizing supply chains, addressing the workforce shortages, addressing how buyers are shifting their behaviors all have to occur in this very changing and challenging environment. And so more advanced digital tools are needed by our customers. Automation is needed to fill a lot of the gaps and drive greater performance. And then you add on another layer of complexity with the geopolitical environments. And when we look at that, that puts a greater challenge on all elements of the supply chain. So as a communication provider, we are finding that the smallest piece, maybe the least expensive component, will stop a production line, will delay a go-to-market. So gaining visibility into the supply chain to make better decisions on sourcing and maybe agile shifts to how the supply chain operates is going to be critical to navigate these challenging environments.
Well put, Andy. I see that challenging, but in the same time also exciting opportunity for many companies like AT&T. Truthfully, I actually expect to see waves of technology breakthrough with AI, 5G, and IoT front and center.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And really, manufacturing experienced the most cyber attack incidents in 2021, topped financial services. What can we do to improve the network security or security in general?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, digital transformation is going to be great opportunities, but with it comes great responsibility as it relates to the security posture itself for any businesses. Our manufacturers are moving to cloud-first environments. That opens up exposure to their data and critical information outside of the four walls. They have a greater engagement of third parties to operate their own business, and that gives a greater threat surface when you have more touching your critical data and infrastructure. So all of those are creating more of a focus in cybersecurity for our manufacturers. From an IDC perspective, by 2024, they believe that 75% of the enterprises will need help with these cybersecurity measures to counter the vulnerabilities, and that they're going to have to create more investment in emerging technologies to address the value chain and secure that properly. The other interesting fact is the same percentage, 74% or so of our customers surveyed, have said that the likelihood of a compromise is very, very high. But more important, it's not if you'll be compromised, potentially when you'll be compromised, and how you recover from that compromise, because the recovery of the business is critical. We are seeing customers implement zero trust frameworks. They're wrapping all aspects of their business, be it OT and IT, into pervasive managed threat detection and prevention environments. They're utilizing managed service providers to help from a best practice. And an interesting piece that I've heard recently from some of our larger manufacturers is they are helping their third-party suppliers secure and improve their own security posture, either through consulting with them or extending their own security capabilities into their third party, because that entire ecosystem must be secured. Otherwise, you increase your threat risks. So it's interesting to see how that is navigating throughout our manufacturing customers. And lastly, this OT-IT intersection that's happening with digital transformation, those two organizations must be on the same page as it relates to security posturing and frameworks. Otherwise, you have seams which create risk.
Well, I actually experienced that OT, how AT&T enabled that OT-IT convergence at Hannover Messe. Very impressed with your solution. So thank you for sharing that. Let's switch gear, talk about labor shortage, right? That has been on top of mind or on the spotlight for manufacturing. US manufacturing is expected to have 2.1 million unfilled jobs by 2030. So what can we do to solve this challenge?
Yeah, I think the shortage of skilled workers and that gap that you just noted, right, at scale, technology is really the answer to fill the gap. In fact, Gartner has said that 60% of the CIOs put talent labor shortage as a top 3 concern, top 3. Yeah. Our customers know that the next generation of workers, particularly in manufacturing, they require and demand safe environments, but technology-enabled environments as well to succeed. So as you think about that workplace and that future of workplace, the opportunity to really take repetitive tasks, perhaps tedious tasks, and automate that with robotics, with AI, being able to then utilize the technology so that the skilled workers that you have can be repurposed and reworked into more complex environments for the manufacturer. So what's happening is that our technologies, as we move into Industry 4.0, are going to augment and complement the labor force, right? Fill in the gaps so that you can continue to have a strong in-person human force to emerge further into capabilities and product success in a manufacturing environment.
Not only that, it makes manufacturing exciting again, right? Imagine you have the robots walking around you and you can just manage them to do repeatable work. You actually mentioned this to me, that we need to take action to fix the talent shortage, that the expertise problem. And then, well, we should also acknowledge that women are an untapped resource for positioning US as a manufacturing powerhouse. So what is the state of women in manufacturing today?
Interestingly enough, 47% of the total workforce are women. But in manufacturing, of the 16 million or so jobs, only 30% are occupied by women, and only 1 in 4 are in leadership roles. It's an immense opportunity. And as we see the industry changing and furthering advancements in Industry 4.0 and digital transformation, you can only realize this innovation and this change when you also change the workforce, right? They go hand in hand. And I believe manufacturers who embrace diversity as part of their culture, part of their strategy, and measure it, right, for accountability, they will see a competitive advantage from that. I was actually at an event earlier this week the Michigan Council for Women in Technology, and their charter is to help create Michigan as the #1 state for women in technology. But what it takes is not just an organization like that, but it takes the commitment of corporations to sponsor, of the academic education system around it, and a community. And this organization gives exposure to young women at an early age of education of what technology can be as a career, helps mentor, foster them through their college education, all the way into their full career to retirement. So that full cycle of giving women exposure to the potential for what careers can be in technology and manufacturing is really a key empowerment that we have to embrace. And if every corporation found a way to do that in their own communities, I think it would help us take the talent that we need on the shop floor all the way to the top floor from an executive positioning for women.
I love that, right? You just said from the shop floor to the top floor. Let's add the link to this organization to this video as well to highlight them. And by the way, there are a few board positions came to me recently from manufacturers. Not a single woman sits on the board, right? So that's just obvious to point it out. That is a good segue for my next question. McKinsey's Women in the Workforce 2022 report says companies are struggling to hold on to the relatively few women leaders they have. This is not just about manufacturing, it applies to all other industries too, right? It goes on to say that women leaders are just as ambitious as men, but at many companies, they face headwinds that signal it will be harder for them to advance. So what is the root cause of this broken rein? What can be done to improve?
Yeah, in my observation, there's absolutely a disconnect from perhaps the factory worker or individual contributor and the company leaders because it lacks representation, as you said. If you can't see her, you can't be her concept, right? And so I think that bridging this disconnect and promoting diversity in the workplace starts with some small actions that can help support women, both by women and male allies, right? And so a couple of thoughts. I think one, for an individual, for a woman in manufacturing or any industry, be proactive in your intention. Don't wait for an invitation. There's many opportunities through mentoring, through events, both internal to your company and external, to build mentoring relationships, to expand your network, which is critical, again, within and outside of the company. And to join employee resource groups within the business, because those will help broaden your opportunity to understand what roles are available and what those look like. For those of us in leadership positions, my belief is you have to send the elevator back down. And by that, I mean, as you rise in your career, don't forget that there's somebody that was waiting in that lobby for their opportunity too. Send the elevator back for them. And if you start that flywheel, I do believe that women with male allies as well can really help to promote more of the opportunities for women in leadership roles. And then I would say the third, lean in to be uncomfortable. And by that, I mean, as I've hired my teams, if I've built organizations, I often find that men in my team will apply for a job that they're relatively qualified for, but perhaps not fully. Women tend to shy away from that. Women tend to want to be fully qualified for any opportunity. And I think that we have to accept the fact that there are transferable skills that can then be used to be successful in a role that you may not be fully qualified for, but you will learn it and you will become successful. And I think that's an important point for women, not to limit themselves and be a little uncomfortable in their pursuit of opportunities.
That's profound, Andy. By the way, you're a role model in sending the elevator down. And I heard that over and over from the people on your team when I was with them at the Hanover Massey. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so can you share any times when women you know have been able to add expertise or a different perspective that helped AT&T or customers to be more successful?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned early, where I grew up in the business was through mergers and acquisitions, right? We grew into AT&T as we know it today through that. And that has given us a really unique opportunity to tap into talent as we've brought companies together that perhaps would have not naturally been a part of our fabric. And so as example, Angela Santone leads our human resources organization for AT&T. And she came into the organization as we were acquiring the Time Warner assets, and she came from Turner Broadcasting. She has brought a very fresh perspective of how do we not only rethink HR and employees, but how do we reshape that future so that we have an opportunity to grow the business through talent acquisition and talent retention. So this M&A approach has been really fruitful for AT&T to bring different perspectives to impact the business. I also think the adage that what got us here today successfully will not get us there tomorrow. So the constant bringing in of new talent, new thought leadership is critical for any business to succeed in the future.
That's really well said there. So what was the most instrumental advice you received that helped you advance your career?
I've had quite a bit of fortunate advice. I'm going to give you a few of my favorites. Very early in my career, it was the understanding of what are table stakes, what are foundational building blocks for a career, and they were do the work and the outcome of results. It was develop and support a successful team, and build a culture. If those three don't exist, it's difficult for any business to succeed. It's certainly difficult for any woman to succeed in business. And so I think those foundational building blocks in any role that I've had, I've kept very close to me. The other, as I mentioned, is stay uncomfortable. I have taken many a role that I believe I even told the hiring manager, I'm not qualified for this job. They still hired me. But understanding and trusting that others might see more in you than you see in yourself. And know that those mentors and sponsors in your career have faith in that and they have intention with that, and to lean into that. The other is change is inevitable. Growth is a choice. And I think as I think about manufacturing today, it's an immense amount of change, right? It's an immense amount of change on all fronts. And so if you accept that that's what's going to be part of business, but then the growth from that and the learning from that is what you lean into again, and what you make as a choice in your daily actions, that's important. And then the other is a balance of personal and work. And I think we all face this as human beings. There are crystal balls and there are rubber balls. A rubber ball is a moment, an opportunity, an event, be it personal or work, that if you drop it, it will come back. It will come back into your life. It won't do harm. But a crystal ball is something you can't replace. It could be an opportunity at work. It could be something in your family life. And once you drop it, you cannot recover it. So for me, throughout my career, I've taken that to heart, and I've made very intentional decisions. What's a rubber ball? What's a crystal ball? I never get them mixed up. And I know that the decisions that I make every day for my team, for my organization, for my family, are grounded, and those were the right decisions for me because it was a crystal ball or a rubber ball. And the last I'll leave you with is culture. I think that culture, as they say, eats strategy for breakfast. I believe a strong culture on all aspects can advance any organization, manufacturing or otherwise. And I think if you stay grounded in the focus of a strong culture, you can be successful despite all the challenges we talked about earlier.
Wow, and that's so remarkable and inspiring. Right now, I know why everybody raved about you. You put in and then you walk the talk as a superb leader. So thank you.
Thank you.
That being said, what have we really missed in helping women in manufacturing through these last few years and into the future?
I think we probably could all agree, as much as there were probably some benefits to the pandemic with virtual, remote, there was a lot of misses. There was a lot of miss in collaboration. There was a lot of miss in that human connection, and being able to really find ways to broaden a network and grow, right? So as we were coming back to what is the return to office model or hybrid, whatever the company model is, understand that there's women out there that have interests, as example, in manufacturing. And as we are now having these human interactions, have those conversations, take time to talk to folks in your company and women in your company in particular, and generate a conversation around what that could look like for a woman in this field. I think the other great thing we have is so many platforms and mediums to connect, right? Something like this, the social media apps that are available, what's available from a community and a volunteerism perspective. So as we embrace those with women, I think it gives us an opportunity to further expand not only the exposure to manufacturing, but the opportunity to learn and grow as individuals as we take that in. And I think that's something we all have to embrace and be really thoughtful about every day of how do we make that connection now that we're going to coming back out of the pandemic.
Yeah, making that connection is everything, not only just professionally and also personally. It's really gets us advance and then grow, get us learn, grow, and thrive. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Here comes to my last question, right? I'd like to get your final thoughts on what would be that one thing companies can do to drive diversity in manufacturing.
As we've talked about technology a lot today, it's absolutely driving remarkable change, but it's just one part of the story, right? And I think true innovation requires this diverse workforce, with women playing a very vital role in that. Many times we talk about what our customers look like or our country looks like, so should our workforce, and that drives success. So I challenge all companies to think about the fact that we're not replicating the past, but we're really looking to shape the future of modern manufacturing with women front and center.
I love that. So thank you so much for your inspiration and wisdom today, Ande. And here are a few key takeaways from our conversation. Really, the company should not be replicating the past. We're here to create the future of manufacturing with women being part of it, right? You mentioned about culture, the culture of learning, culture of innovation, culture of diversity will drive better outcome, business outcome, better network security, and create or expand the expertise. Here are a few very memorable advice from you, Ande. Be proactive. Don't wait for the invitation. Look for men, allies, attend events, network with others. And once you get up there, send the elevator down, because that's how we create a flight view we need to create for other women. And then the other thing is to lean in, to be uncomfortable, challenge your comfort level. And what I love the most is you said, change is inevitable, growth is a choice. Right? There's a crystal ball or there's a rubber ball, and the rubber ball can always bounce back, but the crystal ball will shatter if we drop that. So as a woman, we should be very, very careful about understanding which one is our crystal ball, which one is the rubber ball for life and for work. And you also talk about diversity is everyone's responsibility. It is essential for companies' bottom line, innovation, and product quality. Companies should really invest in those women who are interested in technology and manufacturing. Building an inclusive environment actually start with small actions. I'd like to thank you for all those men and women there who are advocates for diversity. The differences you make all the differences. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.